Well, guys, it is now time for my Week 16 picks of the 2024 NFL season, as last week I went 11-5, which is a downgrade record-wise, but increase from wins from last week. Still having probably the best season I've ever had in terms of picks, and of course, I don't know why I did that. Here is the regular season standings and the playoff standings at the season end today. In the AFC, it's the Chiefs with the bye, with Chargers at Bills, Broncos at Steelers, and Ravens at Texans. In the NFC, it's the Lions with the bye, with Commanders at Eagles, Packers at Buccaneers, and Vikings at Rams. And my Super Bowl prediction right now is the Bills over the Lions instead, over the last few weeks being the other way around. Alright, so now we get to our Week 16 picks, starting off with Thursday night. The first ever Thursday night game that was flexed from the original Browns at Bengals, as it's a big one in the AFC, as it's the Broncos at the Chargers. The Chargers won the last one. The Broncos haven't beaten them since 2023, and the Chargers haven't won home against them since 2022, as the Chargers are trying to get their first win season since 2022. So this is big for playoffs. Broncos, if they win, they will be in the playoffs for the first time since 2015, and in the second longest drought in the league. Just win, and they're in. Chargers, if they win, and a whole bunch of other teams like the Colts, Bengals, and Dolphins lose, although one of them they already have a tiebreaker over, they'll be in the playoffs for the first time since 2022. It's actually possible, if I remember correctly, depending on what happens, all 7 teams in the AFC could be decided who's going to be in the playoffs with 2 weeks ago, which I don't think I've ever seen before. So yeah, huge game for both of them. The Broncos, it was kind of an ugly game, even though it was a blowout at the end, as they destroyed the Colts. And Bo Nix had 3 interceptions along with his 3 touchdowns, but most of that work I think is more towards the defense doing a good job to get their first win season since 2016. Meanwhile, the Chargers, oh my goodness, it was like the reverse of like the Broncos, where they got destroyed by the Buccaneers in the fourth quarters. They couldn't stop anything. Not looking good in that regard. Their offense took a major decline. Their defense took a big decline from that game. My goodness, even with Herbert playing. So yeah, this will be an interesting game, a defensive struggle perhaps, but I think I'll pick the Chargers still for this one. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos get it. They're on a roll at the moment. And then we get to our Saturday games. Also, fuck Peacock, as we're going to start off with a big one in the AFC, as it's the Texans at the Chiefs for the first time since 2020. As the Chiefs won the last 2, the Texans haven't beaten them since 2019. And for the Chiefs, if they win and Bills lose, they will clinch the number 1 seed for the first time since 2022 with 2 weeks ago, which is another rare sight. You don't usually see that often within 2 weeks ago. So number 1 seed's on the line potentially this week for them. And the Texans, if they lose and the Steelers win, I think, and the Bills, they'll be stuck as the 4th seed no matter what. So big game for them if they want to move up in the seedings, because they can still get the 2nd seed. So anyways, the Texans spanked the Dolphins. They made Tua look horrible, as their defense looked really good. And all of a sudden now they look like they have an elite defense almost. So big win for them to clinch the division for the 2nd year in a row. Meanwhile, the Chiefs, they beat the Browns, although it wasn't the blowout I was probably expecting. It was actually kind of close. But unfortunately for them, Mahomes got injured. And will he play or not? From what I heard, he was practicing. So that actually might determine who my pick is for this game, as I didn't look up his injury recently in terms of that. But yeah, very important game for both teams. Remember, back in 2022, when the Texans were horrible, they had that close game, but the Chiefs still won in the end. Alright, so it still looks like he's practicing and all that. So I think I'm going to pick the Chiefs still for this one. But if he doesn't play, I don't know, maybe I could see the Texans getting it. Alright, then we get to the other Saturday game, as it's a big one in the AFC North, as it's the Steelers at the Ravens. As the Steelers won the last 4, the Ravens haven't beaten them since 2022, and they haven't won at home against the Steelers since 2019. As the Steelers, if they beat the Ravens, they will clinch the AFC North for the first time since 2020. The Ravens, likewise, if they win, they will clinch a playoff spot for the 3rd year in a row. The Steelers would still lead the division, though, with the tiebreakers. So someone's going to be in the playoffs this week in this game, depending on what happens and for who. Because the Steelers, meanwhile, already are in the playoffs, even though they got spanked by the Eagles, unfortunately for me. Fuck you, Barry, in that regard. As they got spanked by the Eagles. The Ravens completely and utterly obliterated the Giants as Lamar Jackson had 5 touchdowns. He had more touchdowns than incompletions. As he's making a run for be a second, back-to-back MVP. And this year, if he gets it, I'll support this time, unlike last year. As this is going to be a hard-fought game, and the Steelers and Ravens always fight each other very well, and I cannot wait to watch this game, of course. Oh, man. This is actually a really tough one. I'm not sure if I feel comfortable either way. But I guess maybe I'll pick the Ravens, but I'm not fully comfortable in that one. I can see the Steelers easily getting it still, but I'm still going to pick the Ravens. Alright, then we get to the 1 p.m. games, starting off with the Giants at the Falcons for the first time since 2018, as the Falcons won the last 3. The Giants haven't beaten them since 2014, and they haven't won in Atlanta, since like 2007, I believe. So anyways, the Giants, of course, lost again to... Oh, that's right, I just mentioned they got destroyed by the Ravens. I don't know why I forgot that already. As, yeah, they have, like, the longest losing streak in the league, like, 10 in a row. Nothing's going right for them as they're gunning for that number 1 overall pick, pretty much. Meanwhile, the Falcons, they beat the Raiders in an ugly game, and to the shock, although not necessarily to me, they're benching Kirk Cousins. Michael Penix is going to make his first start. I honestly have been debating the last few weeks, should they consider maybe doing that? Because Cousins these last 3 weeks has been playing horrible. He's thrown like 6 interceptions in 3 games. That's not good. No, I think it was 7 interceptions actually. But yeah, he's not been playing good lately. So something really needs to be shaken up. So the Penix era is going to begin now. Oh, I'm going to feel bad for a salary cap next year. That's going to hurt. But the good thing is for Penix, if he struggles, he is playing against one of the worst teams in the league. So it's almost like a default, I'm going to pick the Falcons for this one, as they really need to win to keep ahead of the Buccaneers. Catch up with them. And then it's the Cardinals at the Panthers for the first time since 2022. As the Cardinals won the last one, the Panthers haven't beaten them since 2021. They haven't won at home against them since 2020. As the Cardinals are trying to get back over 500. So the Cardinals, of course, spanked the Patriots as they're back at 500. Still trying to keep alive in the playoff, the division race, which still a good shot to do so. Meanwhile, the Panthers, well, so much for putting up a good fight against the Cowboys as they got spanked. And they got eliminated from the playoffs, too, as nothing went right for them. So, yeah, I'm going to pick the Cardinals for this one. And then it's the Lions at the Bears, as the Lions won the last one. The Bears haven't beaten them since 2023. And the Lions haven't won Chicago since 2022. As the Lions try to get the most wins, I think, in franchise history. They can't clinch the division yet still, believe it or not, which is crazy this late at 12-2. After they actually lost to the Bills. As not only did they lose, they kind of got spanked. I don't think they ever led once in the game. As Josh Allen torched them and all that. Their defense really shat the bed there big time to end their win streak. Meanwhile, the Bears, of course, got destroyed by the Vikings. I guess no one's really surprised about that as they continue to have a complete collapse. Remember when they were 4-2 earlier in the year? Now they're 4-10. Yikes. Absolute collapse it is. But you gotta also remember, they almost did beat them on Thanksgiving, and maybe if they didn't, if they used their timeout, maybe they could have potentially beaten them and all that. And they did destroy them last year when they hosted them, and they almost did beat them in 2022. The first time, I remember when they were in Ford Field, they blew that big lead they had. And so, yeah, this actually could be a close game potentially, but I'm still going to pick the Lions for this one. Alright, then it's the Titans at the Colts, as the Colts won the last 3. The Titans haven't beaten them since 2022, as the Colts try to avoid their first losing season since 2022. So the Colts, if they lose, or I think the Chargers win, they'll be eliminated. So they have a lot of things going against them if they want to stay alive in the playoff race. So, of course, the Titans got spanked by the Bengals. Meanwhile, the Colts, they were putting up a good fight, especially defensively against the Broncos at first, but then they completely shit the bed in the fourth quarter and all that. So, really hurt them in that regard, but I'm going to still pick the Colts for this one. And then it's the Rams at the Jets for the first time since 2016, as the Jets won the last one. The Patriots, I mean the Jets haven't beaten them. No, the Rams haven't beaten them since 2016. The Jets won the last one 2020 to get their first win, remember. And the Jets haven't won at home against the Rams since 2008. As the Rams try to get their second straight win season, still can't clinch a playoff spot or the division yet. So the Rams, of course, defensive game against the 49ers, but they got to get the sweep. Meanwhile, the Jets beat the Jaguars in a high-scoring game to finally get a win and all that, trying to avoid a worse season last year. And yeah, I'm going to pick the Rams for this one. All right, then it's the big one, the NFC, as it's the Eagles at the Commanders. As the Eagles won the last 3, the Commanders haven't beaten them since 2022, and they haven't won at home against them since 2020. The Eagles, if they win or tie the Commanders, they will clinch the NFC East for the first time since 2022. As with the Lions lost, the Eagles, I think, have the longest streak in the NFC right now, if not the league, as they are just on a roll. As they look dominant, they spank the Eagles and the Steelers, as they have literally like one of the best defense in the league, which is a beautiful sight. Offensively kicking ass. Team might even be maybe more scary than the 2022 team by the stats. Meanwhile, the Commanders won a close one against the Saints. Barely last play of the game, but they got their first win season since 2016. They can't clinch a playoff spot this week, even if they do win. So nothing they're gonna do in that regard. Oh boy, this is gonna be a close one, a tough one. The Eagles and the Commanders the last few years, when they play each other, they play pretty competitively. Remember? Oh boy, this is gonna be close. But I think I'll still pick the Eagles for this one. Alright, then after that, it's the Thursday night game that got flexed out, as it's the Browns at the Bengals. As the Bengals won the last 2, the Browns haven't beaten them since 2023, and they haven't won Cincinnati since 2021. And the Bengals, if they lose or the Chargers win, they'll be eliminated. So they really badly need the Broncos to win tonight. Or I don't know, the Broncos, they could still get in if the Broncos lose too. But yeah, they really need to win this or they're going to be pretty much eliminated. Yeah, they would be eliminated if they lose. So they need this win badly after they beat the Titans to win 2 in a row now. Meanwhile, the Browns, hard-fought fight, but of course, famous Winston opened up his bakery for the Chiefs and all that, and he delivered with all those interceptions. Hey, maybe if he didn't have all those interceptions, they maybe could have upset the Chiefs, because it wasn't that close. It was still kind of a close game for as lopsided the fall was going to be. But yeah, I'm going to pick the Bengals for this one. Alright, then we get to the 4 p.m. games. Start off with a huge one in the NFC, as it's the Vikings at the Seahawks for the first time since 2020. As the Vikings won the last one, the Seahawks haven't beaten them since 2020. And the Vikings haven't won in Seattle since 2006. As the Vikings, they spanked the Bears to make the playoffs. As this season is just amazing how they're doing. Even though Darnold, I don't think, played as good this last week. Meanwhile, the Seahawks got spanked by the Packers, and Geno Smith got injured too, and who knows if he'll be playing this week or not. I don't think it really matters, though, because I don't think the Seahawks are really that good, so I'm going to pick the Vikings for this one. Then it's the Patriots at the Bills, as the Bills won the last one. The Patriots haven't beaten them since 2023, and they haven't won in Buffalo since 2021, as the Bills are trying to keep ahead and catch up with the Chiefs to get that #1 spot. So, the Patriots got spanked by the Cardinals. The Bills spanked the Lions. As, once again, they still, I think, are the best team in the AFC. Now they might have to be considered one of the best teams in the league now after they beat the Lions pretty convincingly and all that. And, yeah, I'm going to pick the Bills for this one, obviously. And then it's a tank bowl, as the Jaguars are at the Raiders for the first time since 2019. As the Jaguars won the last 2. The Raiders haven't beaten them since 2016. They haven't won home against them since 2013. So the Jaguars, high-scoring game, but they couldn't get the job done at the end against the Jets. Meanwhile, the Raiders, they that's right, lost to the Falcons in the defensive game as nothing went right offensively for them. Oh man, who do you trust in this game? Oh my God, both teams are really bad. Ugh. Man, it's really tough to pick. But I guess, I don't know about this one. I think I was actually going to say I might pick the Jaguars, but look at their defense more. I think I'll pick the Raiders. Their defense still has some solidness to it, whereas the Jaguars have like one of the worst defense in the league. But I don't feel comfortable with this pick. Alright, then it's still a big one, the NFC. mean our conference, as it's the 49ers at the Dolphins for the first time since 2016. As the 49ers won the last one, the Dolphins haven't beaten them since 2020, and the 49ers haven't won in Miami since 1995. As the 49ers try to avoid their first losing season since 2020. Dolphins try to avoid their first losing season since 2019. So, the 49ers, if they lose and the Rams and Commanders win, they'll be eliminated from the playoffs. The Dolphins, if they lose or the Chargers win, I think they could be eliminated potentially. There's a lot of things going against them, unfortunately. So, very big concern as the 49ers lost a defensive struggle to the Rams as they did not look good. The Dolphins, meanwhile, man, they made me look like a fool as Tua played like dog shit and threw 3 interceptions. He had a horrible game as that really hurt the Dolphins. Man, that elite defense the Dolphins are having is being wasted. Oh my goodness. And it comes down to who you trust more. And the last several month or so, I've been very high on the Dolphins, but lately every time I say I think they're going to win, they get cooked. Same goes for the 49ers somewhat too. But I think I've been kind of burnt by Dolphins too much, so I think I'm going to pick the 49ers for this one. Alright, then we get to Sunday night as it's a big one, as it's the Buccaneers at the Cowboys for the first time since 2022. As the Buccaneers won the last two, the Cowboys haven't beaten them since 2018. As the Buccaneers try to get their second straight win season, the Cowboys are trying to avoid their first losing season since 2020. So the Buccaneers, oh my goodness, they destroyed the Chargers after it looked like it was going to be a tough game for most until the fourth quarter. As can't clinch a playoff spot yet, no matter what, as they're still trying to run away with it with 4-game winning streak, one of the best offenses in the league. Meanwhile, the Cowboys spanked the Panthers as, hey, they've won 3 out of their last 4, so turn it around. But, oh yeah, if they lose or the Commanders win, they will be eliminated. So this is do or die for the Cowboys. They need this win badly. But I am going to pick the Buccaneers for this one. And then we get to Monday night. Maybe it should have been flexed out, as it's the Saints at the Packers for the second year in a row. As the Packers won the last one, the Saints haven't beaten them since 2021, and they haven't won in Green Bay since 2017. So the Saints, if they lose or the Buccaneers win, they'll be eliminated from the playoffs, so they need to win this. And the Packers, if they win, they'll be in the playoffs for the first time, second year in a row. Or if the Rams lose, wait, no. Yeah, the Rams? I don't know. I think the Rams might have to, but if the Packers win, they will be in regardless. So they need to win. And the Saints need to win to stay alive. So the Saints, hard-fought game against the Commanders. It looked like they were going to get destroyed early on, but then they made the comeback, and they blew in the end with the 2-point conversion. Failed. Meanwhile, the Packers spanked the Seahawks to improve their record from last year and all that. And, yeah, obviously, I'm going to pick the Packers for this one. Alright, so those are my picks for Week 16. I cannot wait for Broncos at Chargers tonight. So my picks are the Chargers over the Broncos, the Chiefs over the Texans, the Ravens over the Steelers, the Falcons over the Giants, the Cardinals over the Cardinals over the Panthers, the Lions over the Bears, the Colts over the Titans, the Rams over the Jets, the Eagles over the Commanders, the Bengals over the Browns, the Vikings over the Seahawks, the Bills over the Patriots, the Raiders over the Jaguars, the 49ers over the Dolphins, the Buccaneers over the Cowboys, and the Packers over the Saints. Alright, so see you all next week for Week 17. And, of course, the first Week 17 games are the Christmas games, which are Wednesday. So because of that, my Week 17 picks are going to be on Tuesday. And, man, that's going to suck because that means I'm going to have to update all the slides and everything for the next day. And I got to film MTWS the next several weeks coming up soon for those Final 3 events. So, man, that's going to be tough next week to get this done. That's why they shouldn't have freaking done the Christmas game. Should have done a Thursday night game instead. Alright, guys, so see you next Tuesday for my Week 17 picks as we get closer to the end of the season.